Good morning. Thank you for joining me this morning. I'm back to my altered book journal. It's the slow stitch cover. This is the back cover, and this is where we are so far on our front cover. As you can see, I've done some adding. Excuse me. I've done some adding of lace in two places, and a little bit of slow stitch lazy daisies. So let's see now. This is the back, and I'm quite tickled with the way they work together. And here is the front cover, and hopefully right there we will have this slow stitched piece of stitchery. But the goal, of course, is to make this work as best we possibly can with the sweet lady on the front cover. And I think we've gotten there. I chose to make these flowers pink because we're going to work on our focal, and that is pink, and I'm just wanting to play up her pretty pink cheeks. This fabric has some of the same pink in it, so there is where we stand thus far. I'm going to put this book aside now and talk about where I am on this project. All right, there we are, safe and sound. Now, the last time we were together, I had done the stamped fabric and just did some rice stitch around the outside of it to bring it out, and then I went into my lace box, and I decided that I wanted something with a mesh background, and didn't I luck up and find it. So this piece was put on first, and all I did to attach it was to do small picking stitches. In other words, come up with your needle and go down as close as you can possibly get to the stitch that just came up. Skip under, come up, go down as close as possible, and so on these lines in the pattern of the lace, I have attached it, and I've attached it across the top. Then, digging further, I found this piece. Well, I absolutely could not resist. First of all, it is a diagonal line, which makes anything that one is doing look better as far as Carol is concerned. And this I just worked the same way as I did on our last piece of slow stitchery. Come up with your needle at the outside and go as close as you can down in, and it just works perfectly for holding lace down. All of these are attached that way. But the trick is to remember, if you remember anything from this morning, is when you're attaching something like lace, this kind of lace. Now this was almost just a straight stitching, but this, because of its ins and outs and ups and downs, has to be attached with a stitch that starts at the outside, never starting on the inside and coming down to attach. Start at the outside as close as you can to the edge and come down in as closely as you can without letting your stitch show. So all of the outside of this was done in exactly the same way. So there we are on this. Now, before we get to the focal, I want to work on this last little pink flower that is part of the design of this lace. And let's see if I can't find. There we go. There we go. Okay. So, this is a piece of my mother's silk thread, and this is an all-out effort to use it up, and I don't think in this lifetime I will ever be able to. But I'm going to do a lazy daisy, and these flowers have six petals. So I think I'm going to put on my my magic addition to my specs. Okay. Now I come up in the middle, and let's come back down at almost the same place, go under and come out at the tip of the petal on the lace. Make a lazy daisy. There's one. And back as close as possible to the center. Back in, and I'm sliding under the lace. I'm not trying to go through to the back of this cover. I'm just creeping under the lace that's laying on top. The petals, if the petals on this daisy become a little bit different in size and shape, that's fine, because that would be normal in nature. Okay, Carol, let's not insist on the wrong place just because you like it. Let's go. Oh, closer, closer. Good girl. Okay. And I hold it over to the side so I can see where I'm stabbing through. If you can see, let's get even a little bit closer. You can see that I tried to get to the end or a little past that piece of the lace design. And tack it down on the outside. It gets a little bit bigger. Well, I won't tell if you don't. And since there are no police involved in slow stitching, there we go. Slide under. It's a very fine needle because I only have one strand of silk in it. Remember the rule of the rule of the rule. The rule of the road is the smallest possible needle to do the job. Now when I poke it through like this to tie off that tip of the lazy daisy, I come right through to the back. I do hope that all of you are having a good day. Let's see what, my. There we go. Let's give this a little bit of a tug. Loosen up some of that silk. Now this could certainly be done with one strand of DMC cotton. I just had this and brought back happy memories of my mother and I stitching. She was a world-class stitcher. And my grandma was a world-class stitcher. In fact, Graham made the slip for under my first communion dress. And she made it in taffeta, and the bottom of the slip must have had this wide piece all around the entire skirt of the slip, lace attachments, to the point that the nuns, of course, always inspected things like that, and one of them said, "Well, Carol," and here I was, 7. She said, "Well, Carol, you could wear that slip on the outside. You really didn't. Mom didn't need to buy a dress. It's so beautiful." And I remember it. I don't remember exactly, but I remember the feel and the look of it. It was just absolutely lovely, and my mother did that kind of stitchery too. Of course, she also sewed. She knocked off Vogue patterns like they were chewing gum. So I was kind of introduced to it at an early age. Now, you'll notice this one's twisting. I'm going to see what I can do to untwist it. And if I can't, oh well. I won't tell if you don't. There, we're just going to... No, see, it wants to go back. Now, if this was 10 years ago, that would come out. That would definitely come out. But this is now slow stitching, and if it stays the way I have it in the front now, that's fine. If it doesn't, well, that's part of the flower that's getting a little bit past its sell-by date. And this is called an Ort box. You can have it as a box. You can have any kind of container for putting scraps of thread so that they don't get in and around and all around. Oh, look, it stayed. Look at that puppy. It just stayed. How nice. So, there we have the embellishment on the net lace. Now we're down to this. And I've been just anxious as can be to try something new. I found this in one of my books, and oh yes, I have books. I've been starting to eliminate some of them because there is a limit even for Carol. But I wanted to share. This is going to be the focal. It's going to be right here in this area. Now, as you can see, this is a piece of rose sari silk. Nothing more, nothing less than that. And I saw this in one of my books, and it was as though I stuck my foot on the brake of a car and stood it on its nose. I thought, wouldn't this be a pretty thing to do? So, doesn't make any difference. The final width of the flower will be half the width of this. So, this one is 2-ish, 2 1/4-ish. So let's see if we're going to be happy with this. Now, it's just a piece of sari silk. And what we're going to do now is do 2 rows of stitching. That's all. That is all. Let's get out some pink, another needle with some pink in it. And 1 strand of silk. And we're going to close this up with a nice running stitch. And I'm going to take that out because that's in my way. And we're just going to go across. Now there is a piece of selvage on the back here, and that's what's making this difficult. Let me show you what I mean. The front here is raw edge where I cut it, but the back is the end of the woven silk, and it has a selvage to it, and it is much firmer and stiffer than the rest of the silk. Now we're not making a big deal out of this, because I have no idea whether I have enough silk. I know what our width is, but I'm not sure the length and what's going to happen when we get to going here. So the first thing you're going to do is sew together. Just cut your piece. Doesn't make any difference what fabric it is. It does not have to be sari silk. It can be cotton. It can be fine cotton, because it's going to become a flower. Yes, it is. So think flower fabric. I wouldn't be thinking wool for coats. Now, let's just get this one. Here. And another one. Here. And we're going to call that mission accomplished. Now, am I going to have enough here? No, I don't think so. That's why I did got a third one ready. So, now is open this and what's called finger press, if we can get it to open, because it is, after all, it is silk. There we go. And we're going to finger press. Let me put this down on the harder surface. Press, press, press. And it's going to close right up because it wants to. Now, another piece of silk. And we're going to open this as flat as we can get it. And we're going to turn down a little tiny, tiny hem here at the front. And we're going to sew. I'm going to pull it towards you. We're going to sew that puppy down all around, just the same way we did the edge here. Here we go, and we're off. Very fine little hem. A very fine little hem, and you do not need to turn this under, just turn it over. So the raw edge is on the inside, and that's just fine. Okay, I'm going to sew around this, and when I get back to home plate, we'll go to the next step of turning this into a flower. Well, here we are. We've been around. So, we sewed the two short edges together, and then we have come around here, and all that we are going to do now is gather our stitch that we just made. We did not end it. Just gathering. And gathering some more. And pulling it around so that it meets at the beginning. All gathered up into a wee little hole. It almost looks like a puff. There we go. Pull those gathers like you're making a skirt for a little doll. And didn't I do a gazillion of those? Oh, yes. Now let's go. You're not cooperating. Come, come, come. Come, come, come. And since this is silk, it is strong, strong, strong. If it burst, we just do it again. Come on, come on. No, you're not there yet. You are not there yet. You just think you are. I'm not finished with pulling on this now. And I want to close this up. Ah, see, gotcha. I want to close that up. And then we have that. Oh, yes, we do. And we'll keep it. Now, let's make sure that this is ended. Back here. And there again. No inspectors. Let's get this one. Let's get that one good and tight. And run the thread through here. Oh yes, you can feel the silk on silk. Oops, got to put on my good friends. Anyone who has been through this knows that waiting for cataract surgery, and now because of my condition I have to wait until January, so I have to be patient. Patience not being my long suit. All right, one more just in here. Nope, not going there. Okay. Let's do another one. And cut off. And we have this. No, we don't. What we have is that, with just a little teensy hole in there. And then, I'm sure you're seeing what is going to happen now. I need a little sip of water. Let's go under here. And let's plop. Plop being the operative word. You could christen this a plop flower. You got to get this other raw edge under till it makes us happy. And of course it might want to have a life of its own and do what it wants. But this is when. And try to center if possible. Now there is no reason on earth that this center of this flower has to be in the center. No, there is no reason. But I think maybe you have an idea of where we're going here. And the best thing we can do now is pin this puppy a little bit. Just pin it until it makes us happy. And I want and go under and pin it, because that's where we're going to tack. The same kind of little tacks that we did attaching this. Well, now I think you need to go under just a little bit more. Are you going to cooperate? And yes, I'm talking to my stitchery. Okay. Do I like that spot? Problem here. Do I like that spot? No. I want it up higher. Out. 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 Up. Up. Yes. It needed to be up. Just take a tiny little bit of that fabric and preferably to the back. Yes. And this is where the play bit begins. Whoops, no. No, Carol. And this is where the play bit begins until it makes you happy. No, I don't want that thing sticking over there like that, like it's silly. I want it to be round. So. All right, now. See, I'm not happy with that one. Stop, Carol, you're getting ahead of yourself. And I dare you to give this a try and not talk to yourself. Just can't happen. Whoops, I almost saw some edge. Yes, I did. See, I saw some of the edge right there of the under fabric, and that cannot happen. Shove it under. And let's get it down. Now, you want this to be poofy, and it's as poofy as you want it to be, or not. And this is where the seam is. So, let's be a little bit careful here. This is where that original sewing together of the two pieces on the end, the two short ends. You know, pins used to be a lot better than they are now. I'm going to gripe a bit. Yeah, not what they used to be, but then a lot of things aren't. Okay. Let's go here and have a look. So we have a nice poofy flower. Now what I'm going to do on our next and probably last job on this slow stitched cover is I've got some beads. I'm going to attach some beads and some thread to make it look like stamen with greenish, iridescent greenish beads, dark iridescent greenish beads. It looks like brown and green, which will be perfect for the girl. So, because this is all about that girl. So we have that. Now, where else are we going to go now? Well, I'm wondering, do I want another flower? Because this is, I don't want to take away from this effect. Do we want another flower? No, I don't think so. I'm wondering if we might want some leaves. And I'm thinking leaves. Okay, now, while I'm thinking leaves, now have we used this one, there would have been a little bit more of it, the width would have been the same, but it would have been a little bit rounder and higher. But I like this because of the overall size. Okay, I have some really fine lace here. And I'm saying to myself, Carol, oh, very similar pattern in this lace to what's up here. Boy, I couldn't have done that if I'd worked at it. Now, let's see what we have. This is our disappearing ink, air and water soluble ink. Or box. Now, let's see about having. Let's just see if this is going to be what I think it's going to be. I'm not going to use my heavy scissors. What would that do? What would that do? No, not there. Over here would be better. Let's see what this would do. I tucked it in under here. Now, and that could be embroidered with green. Is it strong enough? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Let's try another one. Because we certainly need 3 if we're going to do it. Definitely need 3. One here. Yes, maybe. Yes, maybe. And one over here. Let's just do another one. And this has been decided not to be necessary. You here. Alrighty, let's see what we have. Okay, yeah, that mission accomplished. That and that. I'm liking the way this pulls down the idea of lace. And I'm thinking maybe a bit of green, variegated green, the same variegated green that we used on the on our first project. Yes, I think so. There's something else there. Something. Or maybe not. After this is attached, there are beads and so forth there. And green embroidery of some nature. Some slow stitch something on these. We still have here. And I'm just wondering if, well, we'll just have to give that a good try. And let me just show you how exactly I'm going to attach or start to attach. I won't finish it because you don't need to watch me do the same thing over and over. Now, when attaching this, I'm coming in from the back. Now this is one time where I'm coming in from the back, right at the tip edge, if I can get it there where I want it. Right there. And back under as close as humanly possible. So that nope, it's not in there. I have to give it a little check to make sure it's caught that silk. Yes, it did. Okay. And right down under towards the center. Point that needle right under towards the center. Do I have it? Yes, I do. Now you might want to go around this twice, just to be sure. And as you can see, this is now attached at the edge, and that's how I'm going to finish it all the way around to here. Let me see if you can see. Can you see those tiny, tiny, tiny stitches? They would probably even be smaller. Or not. I mean, after all, we are trying to pass for human here. Let's do one more right there. And then I'll show you about tacking lace, because I have a piece of thread ready for the... Okay, so between here and here, it's tacked down. And I'm just going to leave this right there. Now, I have some white, some off-white DMC, the same that I used here, and let's see about attaching from the back, coming through to the front as close to the edge of that piece of lace as ever you can, and down in as close to the edge as you can, and from the outside in, right over that piece. And all around the leaves, the 3 leaves, so that anything you do to them now is not going to be a problem because it is completely attached. This is not difficult sewing. This slow stitching just is what it is. It's slow, it's relaxing, and when I do this kind of thing, when I attach this, well, I can't imagine anything more relaxing. I just go into the zone. Now this is netting, so it's going to show just a little bit more than it would on the embroidered bits where the flower is, but that's okay. Because if you do it well and you do it carefully, take your time, slow stitching, remember. And we are attaching the 3 lace leaves. This, I think I'll just leave that right here so that I remember where I was. I do hope that you have enjoyed sharing this with me. And let's have a quick look at it on the cover, just because I can't stand not to. So, here is our cover. Oh yes. And now, and this will get pressed down as time goes along, and that's just fine. But the next time we meet, I'm going to be working on the center of this flower, and let's just see what we can do with some beads maybe and some French knots and somethings. I do hope you have enjoyed sharing this with me today. I have certainly enjoyed showing you this very simple flower. Let me review again. You have your piece of fabric, whatever it is. You stitch across the 2 short sides, straight, just a row of hem stitching across the 2 sides. And then you go back and go around the top or bottom, whichever part. If your fabric has a design in it, you might want to be careful about that, but you just go around, and when you get to the end, you give it a pull, slowly but surely, and gather it up so that it meets here in the center. This is this. And isn't slow stitching wonderful? If you have enjoyed today, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and I would appreciate your subscribing to my channel. Bye now. See you as soon as I get this bit tacked down and ready, and I have a good think about what we're going to do next. Bye now.